Would you come on an adventure with me, Loki? Would you come on an adventure with me? Hi, I'm Anne. Welcome back to my channel, and welcome to all the new subscribers that came over with my rant for Persuasion. But today we're going to talk about something more positive. I was tagged by Michael K. Vaughan in the Awfully Big Adventure book tag, and it was created Shawn D, Standfast, and Mark from Book Time with Elvis, and basically they are hosting next month in August, the August of Adventure, where they're reading adventure books. I really want to participate because I love adventure books. However, all the books they're reading for August of Adventure are books that I have already read. So they're reading Treasure Island, The Lost World, Tarzan, Robinson Crusoe, King Solomon's Mines, all of which I've already read. So I'll have to find other books to read because I don't necessarily want to reread those books. But for today, we are going to be doing this fun light tag, and I did a whole bunch of research for this video because I got into it. Because when it comes to travel and adventure, I love it so much. Number one, do you like your adventure stories fictional or real life? Why? I would say a little bit of both. My favorite adventure stories are those that combine real life with fiction. So for example, think of The Mummy, even though that is more fiction than nonfiction, but it is set in a world that is nonfiction, and it kind of pulls from random things from Egyptian mythology. And those are usually the adventure stories that I really like. For example, Treasure Island, great adventure story, and it is set during the age of piracy. So it deals with real life pirates, but in a fictional situation. So I'd say technically fiction, but I like it to be based on more of reality. Number two, if you could follow in the footsteps of any explorer, who would it be and why? Isabella Bird is one of my favorite explorers of all time. She was born in England in 1831 and she died at age 72 in 1904. And basically she traveled the world. I will put up a map of all the places she traveled to, and as you can see, she went to the United States, Australia, Hawaii. She went to the Rocky Mountains, Japan, China, Singapore, Hong Kong, Tibet, Persia. She traveled all around, and she wrote quite a few books about her travels there. I'm just going to read you out a few of the books she wrote. I'll have the covers here so you can see them. A Lady's Life in the Rocky Mountains, Unbeaten Tracks in Japan, 6 Months in the Sandwich Islands among Hawaii's palm groves, coral reefs, and volcanoes, Among the Tibetans, Korea and Her Neighbors, the Yangtze Valley and Beyond, Journeys in Persia and Kurdistan. So basically this woman went all over the place. She also has quite a lot of photography that she took, which are partially in her books. I've only read a couple books by her so far, but I want to read all her books. She's such an inspiration to me, especially since it was a lot rarer during that time for you to find a female traveler traveling around. She's such a fascinating person. I want to learn more about her, but yeah, I'd love to follow in her path and just travel the world. Number three, where was the most romantic and or weirdest place you've read a book? What was that book? I don't read books in weird places. The only weird places I can think I've read a book on a road trip traveling across the USA or something like that. And I wouldn't even remember what books because I am very much a homebody, so I read at home. Number four, if money was no object, what rare and or signed adventure book, fiction or nonfiction, would you purchase? Adventure books specifically, there are a few adventure books in this publication, but Easton Press are books that I absolutely would love to buy, but as you can see, they're all $84 just for one copy of a book, which I cannot justify spending $84 on a single book, especially now because, budget is tight. However, the adventure book I'd love to own that is either very hard to acquire or very expensive is Records of a Grand Historian by Summa Chien. He was a 1st century AD Chinese author, and from him we have most of the knowledge we know from ancient China pre-AD, so, Han Dynasty and before. He was a Han Dynasty historian that put together all this information, and so a lot of the stuff that we know about ancient China comes from him, even if a lot of his stuff may be partially mythical, but some of it is actually provable. For example, the probably the most famous Chinese emperor was Qin Shi Huang, and he made the Great Wall of China. He started construction on it. He also made the terracotta warriors, and his tomb is actually described in Sima Qian's writing as rivers made of this like poisonous substance that looks as if it were like a real map or a real terrain in his tomb. And archaeologists have actually found trace elements of that poisonous substance in the tomb of Qin Shi Huang. So a lot of the stuff that Sima Qian writes about has actually been backed up by archaeological work. So not exactly adventure, I guess nonfiction adventure, but I would love to own a copy of his book. I actually got 2 volumes from my library in Minnesota, and that's how I originally read him, but it's really hard to get access to copies. Number 5, what place have you read about but never visited? Name a few of your favorite titles. And I picked out 3 for this, along with books that go with them. The first one, because there has been archaeological evidence to prove this something did exist there, La Ciudad Blanca? I'm sorry, my Spanish is not that great, but it's basically the White City. And I read The Lost City of the Monkey King. Great book. I highly recommend it. And that kind of traces the history of both conquistadors, the Spanish conquistadors back in, say, the 16th century, trying to seek this legendary mythical city, while also there's been a new invention that is able to use satellite imagery to trace into deeper under the canopy of the rainforests in Honduras, and because of that they were able to find what actually might be the White City. So really cool to actually read that book, and it would be so cool to travel there, but I also know Honduras is not exactly the safest place, but there's a lot of other places I would like to go to, like Machu Picchu is a great example. That is Mayan. And then you have, excuse my pronunciation, Tenochtitlan. Tenochtitlan is in Mexico City, and it is the Aztec. So that's like the harder place to visit. But then the other 2 are in Asia. The first one is I would love to see Gwangbokgung Palace. Most recently, I read The Court Dancer, and in that one, it features this palace. This was one of the biggest palaces in Seoul, Korea. It's just absolutely beautiful. I'll put some pictures in because I love the architecture, and because it's within Seoul, it's quite easy to visit. There's a lot of also pathways that you can actually trace the entire old city walls around Seoul. Some of the cities, some of the walls and some of the gates are still up. So it'd be really cool to like trace that path and then visit Gwangbokgung. And the last one is the historical name of the city is Dayang, and the modern name is Lijiang. It's in Yunnan province, which is quite close to Tibet, so it's very inland in China. And in Jade Dragon Mountain, this is the city in which this book is set, and Elsa Hart actually traveled there and lived there for some time. And if you look at pictures of the city, it is just absolutely beautiful because it kind of grew from an ancient city to more of a modern city, and it's quite still an ancient city. It feels very ancient from the pictures I've seen. There are some modern areas as well, but it traces back to the Yuan dynasty back in, I think, 1200s, 1100s. But not just Lijiang in general. I would just love to travel around China, just like go backpacking. And then finally, I'm going to tag some fellow adventurers. I'm going to tag 3 channels, but do not feel stressed, guys, if like you don't want to do this video. I'm going to tag David Wiley, Joan Mary from Book Buds, and finally, I'm going to tag a new channel that I discovered recently, and I've been really enjoying her. She deserves more subscribers because she only has 13 subscribers so far, and that is Hannah Linda, and I've been really enjoying her videos recently. And she just started on BookTube, so go and give her some love. I'll link all their channels down in the description. But don't feel pressured to actually do this tag if you don't want to do it. But what are some of your favorite adventure books, especially for those of my subscribers who don't have their own BookTube channel? I'd love to hear what places do you want to travel to, and what books do you love that are adventure books? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, like, subscribe. I post every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye!